Today we are going to start with the story of an hour by Kate Chopin, written in 1984. The protagonist of the story is Mrs. Mallard, and the story will deal with the things which happen to her and with her in that 1 hour. So that is why the title is The Story of an Hour. The story is about 1 hour of Mrs. Mallard. Right? So now we'll start with the story. Who will read? Kritika, please read. Insha raised her hand. So, ma'am, please unmute Insha. She raised her hand. Okay, I have to. Now I am done. Insha, raise your hand again. How will I unmute? Start.
Knowing that Mrs. Mallard was afflicted with a heart trouble, great care was taken to break to her as gently as possible the news of her husband's death. It was her sister Josephine who told her, in broken sentences, veiled hints that revealed in half concealing. Her husband's friend Richards was there, too near her. It was he who had been in the newspaper office when intelligence of the railroad disaster was received, with Brentley Mallard's name leading the list of killed. He had only taken the time to assure himself of its truth by a second telegram and had hastened to forestall any less careful, less tender friend in bearing the sad message.
Great. Thank you, Insha. So, what does the first line of the story tell us? Knowing that Mrs. Mallard was afflicted with a heart trouble, great care was taken to break to her as gently as possible the news of her husband's death. So from this first line, was afflicted means was suffering from. This first line of the story, we come to know that she was inflicted, she was suffering from a heart disease. And because she was suffering from a heart disease, her heart was not strong enough to deal with any kind of shocking news or any kind of sad news. Any kind of excitement would prove disastrous for her. So that is why great care was taken. The people who were about to break the news of her husband's death to her, they were very careful. Right? This news of her husband's death was broken to her in a very careful manner because of this problem of hers, that is this heart trouble she was suffering from. It was her sister Josephine who told her in broken sentences. So her sister told her in broken sentences, means in hints, veiled hints that revealed in half concealing. So see, the news was given to her slowly in broken sentences, in veiled. Veiled means disguised hints, right? Not expressed in a very clear manner. Not in a very clear manner. This news was told to her very slowly, right? So that she is able to absorb a small portion of it. At a time, her husband's friend, Richard, was there too, near her. So there were two people who were trying to reveal this news, who were trying to tell her about her husband's death. Who were these two people? Her husband's friend, Richards, was there, and Mrs. Mallard's sister, Josephine, was there. So these two people, they were trying to tell her, trying to disclose this news of her husband's death in broken sentences and in veiled hints to her. It was he who had been in the newspapers of her. And this person, Richards, who was Mrs. Mallard's husband's friend, right? He was in the newspaper office when intelligence of the railroad disaster was received. So there was a railroad accident, and so the news of this disaster was received by this person, Richards, because he was present there at the newspaper office at that time. So the news came to the newspaper office, and so he got to know about it. With Brentley Millard, with Brentley Millard's name leading the list of killed. So the list of all those people who were killed in the railroad accident came to the newspaper's office, and Richards was present there. So he was able to know that Brentley Millard has also died because his name was written at the top. His name was the first one to be written in that list. He had only taken the time to assure himself of its truth by a second telegram. And then what did he do? He very quickly assured about the truth of that news, truth about the death of death of Mr. Brentley Millard. He just trying to find out. He just tried to confirm the news as soon as possible by the second telegram, and had hastened to forestall any less careful, less tender friend in bearing the sad message. What does it mean? To forestall means to stop something. Why did he hasten to forestall this? Please raise your hand. Why did he? Why was he in a hurry to stop any person? Any less tender friend means insensitive friend. Yes, Kritika Saxena. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am, because Miss Millard was a heart patient and he did not want her to receive any kind of shocking news, as it
Yes.
would be bad for her health.
Yes, because Mrs. Millard was a heart patient, and and Richards didn't want that any insensitive person, any person who is not careful enough, he should go rush and deliver this news to Mrs. Millard, because that would have proved fatal for her. She could have even died. So that is why he hastened. He was in a hurry, and he quickly went to Mrs. Millard's house the moment he was confirmed that this news is true and Mr. Brentley Millard is no more. So he rushed to her house to break the news to Mrs. Millard himself, right? And there he joined with Josephine to reveal this truth to Mrs. Millard. If you see in the first line, why is the protagonist addressed as Mrs. Millard? Okay, we'll discuss this later on. Yes, can you tell? Anusha.
Ma'am, here the protagonist is showing that she does not has her own identity. She is being recognized by the name of her husband.
Yes.
Her first name is not even mentioned there.
Yes, that is why the writer has not even mentioned her first name. Why? Because the writer wants to tell that she doesn't have any identity of her own. She's only recognized as wife of someone else. That is wife of Mr. Brentley Millard. Brentley Millard's name is here. He is not addressed as Mr. Millard. His first name is there. But for Mrs. Millard, the first name is missing. Why? The reason has been told by Anusha. Okay, we'll move ahead. She did not hear the story as many women have heard the same. So she did not deal with the thing when she came to know the truth, when the truth was told to her, then she did not take it in the manner any normal woman would take it. Right? With the paralyzed inability to accept its significance. How will a normal woman take it? First, there'll be like denial. Right? What happens when you hear some sad, shocking news? First, you go into a state of denial that no, this cannot be true. Your mind is not ready to accept it. Right? So she did not take it in that manner. She did not hear the story of her husband's death. As many women have heard the same, as many women who hear the news of their husband's death. She dealt with it in a different manner, with a paralyzed inability to accept its significance. This is how most women would take, they will take this news In the beginning, their mind will be in a state of denial, but not with Mrs. Mallard. She took it in a very different manner. She wept at once. She immediately started weeping with sudden wild abandonment in her sister's arms. Means the moment she heard the news, the moment she understood through those disguised and broken hints and broken sentences and veiled hints. See, these are the keywords in underline. Broken sentences, veiled hints. Right. So the moment she understood the reality, the moment she understood whatever was being conveyed to her, she started weeping immediately in her sister's arm. When the storm of grief had spent itself, and when she had cried for some time, right? When she has grieved, cried in her sister's arm for some time, she went away to her room alone. Then she went upstairs to her room all by herself, leaving her sister and Richards there. She would have no one follow her. She stopped anyone from following her. This is what she did. There stood facing the open window. And what did she do when once she reached her room? She reached her room, she went inside her room, and then she locked the room. She stood facing the open window, and there was an open window in her room. And what did she do? She stood facing that window, a comfortable, roomy armchair. And there was a big armchair kept in front of that window. Into this, she sank. And then she just sank, means dropped herself into that armchair, pressed down by a physical exhaustion. Why? Because she was feeling some kind of physical exhaustion. She has cried, right? She has bitterly cried in her sister's arm and cried for some time. As it is, her heart was weak. She was not, her heart was weak means she was not a very very strong lady physically. So, because she was experiencing some kind of physical exhaustion, so, and then there was mental exhaustion also. So, she sank into that chair, pressed down because she was tired of physical exhaustion that haunted her body and seemed to reach into her soul. That exhaustion, that fatigue, which haunted her entire body, which had taken over her entire body and now had reached into her soul. She could see in the open square, and then because she was facing the window, so she could see clearly from that window. There stood facing the open window, she could see in the open square before her house the tops of trees, right? Because she was on the first floor now. She had gone upstairs, her room was upstairs. So obviously she'll be able to see the tree tops only, the tops of the trees only, that were all aquiver with the new spring light. It was the spring time of the year. And so aquiver means the trees were shaking, right? They were quivering, they were moving, means trembling, right? So the trees, they were trembling because of the spring wind, the breeze which was blowing, right? So the tops of the trees, because from the first floor, the tops of the trees will be visible to her. Once you sit, right, next to a window on the first floor, you can only see the tops of the trees. The stem and the soil will not be visible to you. So these were the things which were visible to her, right? The tops of the trees. See, you need to make a note of what all she does. They were all aquiver with the new spring light. So they were trembling with the new spring light. New life was seen in those trees. Springtime, I told you it's the flowering season, new flowers, new flowers, new leaves, they come on trees. So they were all aquiver with the new spring light. The delicious breath of rain was in the air. So it must have rained, so she could smell that rain. In the street below, a peddler was crying his wares. So what else was there? A peddler was crying. In the street, she could hear the voice of a peddler who was selling his goods. The notes of the distant song which someone was singing reached her faintly. And then she could also hear the song which was being sung by someone at a distance, right? Someone in the neighborhood must be singing. So faintly means not very clear and not very loud. So very faint sound of that song was being heard, and countless sparrows were twittering in the leaves. And they were quite countless, means many sparrows, they were twittering and chirping in the eaves. What are eaves? Who can tell me the meaning of eaves? Yes, Shanvi.
Ma'am, edges.
Yes, they are the edges, the projecting edges over the. They are projecting things from the roof. Normally, you must have seen on top of the window or from the roof. The projecting structure which is built, those are the eaves. So many sparrows, they were sitting on the eaves and they were twittering, means they were making sound. So these were the things which Mrs. Millard saw. Right? So can you tell me what the writer is trying to express from these lines? Yes, Kritika.
After all that mental and physical exhaustion, these are all other significance of a new life. She can feel the that she is very relaxed, and she can feel that there is some new life which is waiting for her in future.
Okay. These are the things. See what she sees. She is sitting there, exhausted, tired, on that armchair, and whatever she could see from outside the window, the beauty of nature, everything is free. Nobody is controlling anything. There is new life. The trees, they are blooming with new life. Then the delicious breath of the air. So these are the symbols of happiness, right? The peddler is crying his wares. He is also free, selling, screaming about his wares, the wares which he was selling. Then the notes of the song, again, expressing happiness. And the countless sparrows, the sparrows chirping and twittering. That again is a symbol of happiness and joyfulness. So the life outside the window, outside her window was happy. Everyone was free, everyone was enjoying, and everyone was happy. There was new life outside the window, right? So these are the things which have been expressed by the writer. Now, the screen is clear, visible to everyone. Ma'am, I muted you also.
Yes, ma'am, it is clear.
Okay. So she could see in the open square before her house the tops of trees. So when she sank on the chair, these were the things, because her room was on the first floor, and from the first floor, only the tops of the trees will be visible. So she could see the tops of the trees that were all aquiver with the new spring life. So it was the time of the spring. So they were trembling because of the breeze which was blowing. So everywhere new flowers, new buds, new leaves, they must be showing up on these trees. So it's written that they were all aquiver with the new spring light. The delicious breath of rain was in the air. In the street below, a peddler was crying his wares. So a peddler was selling his stuff in the streets below. The notes of the distant song, which someone was singing, reached her faintly, and countless sparrows were twittering in the eaves. So somebody was singing the song at a distance, and she could hear that song faintly. Means it was not very clear, it was not loud, but she could hear that somebody is singing. And the sparrows, the countless sparrows were twittering on the eaves. Now, what are the eaves? This. These are the eaves, the projecting edges of the roof. So, these are the eaves. So, many sparrows, they were sitting on these eaves. Can you see the picture of eaves? So, they were sitting on the eaves and they were twittering. They were continuously going on making sounds. There were patches of the blue sky showing here and there through the clouds that had met and piled one above the other in the west facing her window. So then she looked up from that window and she could see the patches of blue sky. And she started looking towards the sky. And then she could see that there were clouds that had, so there are several clouds they had joined, they had met and piled one above the other. This is something which you can see the clouds, one on top of another, making a pile, the sky, one above the other in the west facing her window. So towards the west of her window, she could see the clouds. She sat with her head thrown back upon the cushion of the chair. So then she sat with her head thrown back upon the cushion of the chair. So there was a cushion on the chair and she just relaxed herself on the chair, quite motionless, without making any movement, except when a sob came up into her throat and shook her. So at times, several times, again and again, a sob came and it shook her, right? So her body was shaken by that sob. As a child who has cried itself to sleep continues to sob in its dream. Now you must have seen that if you cry a lot, right? You go on crying for a long period of time or you cry bitterly, then small children, they especially do this, right? They go on sobbing for some time. So whenever a sob comes, their body shivers, right? So in the similar manner, whenever a sob came into her throat, she was shaken. I told you earlier that she was not physically very strong, right? So like a small child, it shook her. She was young. Please mark these lines. She was young with a fair, calm face whose lines bespoke repression and even a certain strength. So this is the description of Mrs. Ballard. She was a young lady. She was fair. She had a calm face whose lines bespoke repression. Lines bespoke repression means bespoke means indicated. There were indications of repression. Repression means suppression, lack of freedom on her face because she had been continuously dominated by her husband. So that was something very visible from the lines of her face. Bespoke means they made it very obvious. It was very clearly indicated from her face that she was a repressed creature. She was a suppressed creature and even a certain strength. And then there was some kind of strength, some kind of patience also on her face. But now there was a dull stare in her eyes. But at this moment, what else was there? A dull stare in her eyes, whose gaze was fixed away off yonder on one of those patches of the sky. And there was a dull stare in her eyes, and she was continuously staring at the sky. Fixed away off yonder means at a distance she was staring at the blue sky, the blue sky and the clouds which were there at a distance. She was just blankly staring at them, right? Not in some deep thought or not reflecting about something. It's written, there was not a glance of reflection. Means she was not contemplating about something. She was not involved in some deep thought, but rather indicated a suspension of intelligent thought. See, these are the phrases which you really need to remember. You have to learn them. Suspension of intelligent thought, right? Suspension means there was some intelligent thought which was trying to come to her. There was some thought which was trying to move inside her, but she was somehow suspending it. Suspension of intelligent thought means she was trying to delay it. She was trying to stop something for a short period of time. She was trying to avoid some thought which was desperately trying to enter her, come inside her, right? Now, what was that thought? Okay, so it was not a glance of reflection, but rather indicated a suspension of intelligent thought. So it seemed as if there was some intelligent thought which was trying to come to her, but she was suspending it. She was kind of delaying it, stopping it, avoiding it. There was something coming to her, and she was waiting for it fearfully. And she was rather scared to accept it. She was there waiting, but she was afraid also. There was some kind of fear inside her. What was it? She was not acquainted with that thought. She did not know. She was not aware of that thought. She was not able to understand what is it that is trying to take control over her, but she was trying to suspend it for some time. It was too subtle and elusive. Too subtle means it was too obscure. Here subtle means obscure. It was too hidden for and elusive. Elusive means something which is very difficult to understand or difficult to define, right? So that is elusive. So the thought which was coming to her with a lot of force, the thought which was trying to capture her, that particular thought was too subtle and elusive to me. So it was something very hidden because she was not able to understand it. There was something happening inside her mind, right? Something was trying to take control over her, but it was so subtle and elusive to name. She was not able to understand it clearly what's happening to her. So she couldn't define it clearly, but she felt it. But she was sure that she is feeling something creeping out of the sky, reaching towards her through the sounds, the scents, the colors that fill the air. So, to all these things from the sky, something was coming. She was blankly staring at the clouds in the sky, blankly staring at the sky, and she felt that something is coming from that sky. Something is coming towards her. Great speed, trying to take control over her mind. But she didn't understand what was it. It was not very clear to her. Now her bosom rose and fell tumultuously. So then what happened? Her upper part of the body, it rose and then it fell back on the chair. So tumultuously means in a very loud manner, right? In a very excited manner. See, this is from here. What is happening to her? This is the journey of self-discovery, right? From here, her journey of self-discovery starts. Right? So her journey of self-discovery, it starts from here. Till now, she is not able to understand what's happening to her, but slowly she will understand what was that thought which was coming to her. So her upper part of the body, it rose up from the chair and then it again fell back in a very loud and excited way. It fell back on the chair. She was beginning to recognize this thing that was approaching her. Now, because that thought was so powerful, it was trying to take over her. So she slowly started understanding what is this that is happening. Beginning to recognize this thing that was approaching to possess her. And she was striving to beat it back with her. And there was something inside her which was restricting this thought from entering her, right? Though that thing, that restriction was not very powerful, but there was something inside her which was restricting her, which was stopping, which was trying its level best to stop it. As powerless as her two white slender hands would have been. So with her two white slender, weak hands, she tried to stop that thought from entering inside her. When she abandoned herself, and then what happened? She gave up. That restriction, she stopped restricting. When she abandoned herself, a little whispered word escaped from her slightly parted lips. Slightly parted means slightly open lips. So when she gave up that struggle, which she was doing to restrict that thought, right? So what happened? Then when she gave up, when she surrendered to that thought which was coming towards her, few words they escaped from her slightly open lips. She said it over and over under her breath. And then she repeated those words again and again under her breath. And what were those words? Those words were free, free, and free. So she repeated these words because now she understood what was it that was coming to her. What was it that was trying to take control over her, right? So this is the journey of Mrs. Mallard's self-discovery. She was trying to discover what she really wanted. She actually was not very sad. I mean, obviously, she was the wife. She has lived with a certain man for so many years. So that sorrow will always be there. But then she was sad, but she didn't want him back into her life. Right? You might be sad about something, but you still don't want the person or thing whom you have lost to come back to your life. So this was Mrs. Mallard's condition. Because now she realized what she has got, or what great thing she has achieved from the death of her husband, and that was freedom, right? So that is why she said it over and over under her breath: free, free, free. The vacant stare and the look of terror that had followed it went from her eye. So that vacant stare and that terror which was there under her eye a few minutes ago, that disappeared because now she understood what was happening to her. She had achieved that freedom. So because of that, she the vacant stare and the look of terror that had followed it went from her eyes. So earlier, that look of terror, earlier there was some kind of fear when that thought was approaching her. She was scared to accept it. She was scared to accept whatever she wanted deep inside her. But now, when she surrendered herself to that thought, it means she accepted. She embraced that thought, that happiness which she was actually feeling on the death of her husband. And why was she feeling happy? Because she has attained something, and that something was freedom. So when she surrendered, what happened? Changes started. Some physical changes also happened. The vacant stare and the look of terror that had followed it went from her eyes. So that vacant stare disappeared, and the look of terror, it went away from her eyes. They stayed keen and bright. Now her eyes, they became keen and bright. There was some kind of brightness in her eyes. Earlier they appeared dull. There was fear in her eyes a while ago, but now when she accepted that thought, when that struggle was over inside her, her eyes, they again became keen and bright. Her pulses beat fast, and the coursing blood warmed and relaxed every inch of her. So these are the changes which happened. Again, her blood started flowing throughout her body because her pulse was beating fast, and she felt the flowing blood warmed her body, and she, coursing means flowing. The flowing blood warmed her body, and she felt relaxed and happy and peaceful, right? So all the sorrow of her husband's death, it disappeared. Obviously, she'll miss her husband, but again, she was not. She would not want him to come back into her life. With this, we'll end today's class, and we'll continue on the